We're previewing Week 12 on a Kokomo Friday.
Alcantara, Soroka, you look so good in Boca. Peralta, Manoa, bounce back for Aarondola. Giolito, Castillo, Yoshida, Mosu, Carlo, and Pfaadt. Value so high, but ADP so low. Frank Clubs hit some kind of Joe. Now let's get on with the show.
Hello and welcome to Fantasy Baseball Today. I'm Chris Towers. I'm here with Scott White. It is June 6th, and we are here on a Kokomo Friday to preview Week 12. We're going to talk about what's gone wrong with Jesus Luzardo. It's a lot over the past couple of starts. We might do some trivia. Scott may or may not know the answers. I don't want to presume that Scotty will or won't know. But before we get to that, I don't have the drop. So it's going to be a totally different segment. It's not the same thing at all. Don't worry. But before
I'm not worried.
Oh my goodness. Let's be super negative for about 9 minutes before our first break, because there was a lot of bad stuff going on around baseball. And I think we got to start with Jesus Luzardo, who looked like maybe the single best pick among pitchers in the entire game 8 days ago. First 11 starts, he had like a 2.15 ERA. He was 7th in the league in strikeouts. He looked like an ace. All of a sudden, he's got like a 4.50 ERA because he has given up 20 runs in his past 2 starts combined. If you remember how poorly his previous start went, that means he gave up 8 runs today on 9 hits over 2 1/3 innings at Toronto, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. I was watching this game as it happened, but I was working, so I didn't pay full attention. So I went through and watched the whole start, which didn't last very long, obviously 2 1/3 innings. I didn't think it was that worrisome, the results were terrible, obviously. And he didn't pitch well. I don't want to make this sound like Jesus Luzardo, just like the Blue Jays dinked and dunked their way to 8 runs. He gave up a home run to Bo Bichette. He gave up some loud contact, but the velocity was fine. Mm-hmm. The average exit velocity was 90 miles an hour, which is not good, but it's not horrible. His command of his sweeper and slider were terrible. He had no feel for either of those pitches. The movement profiles on both were all off. That was the biggest problem. And so the Blue Jays were able to just sit on fastball, changeup, and those are his weakest pitches. And he wasn't commanding everything well. He was leaving a lot of stuff out over the kind of fat part of the plate against righties, and it was bad. But I watched it, and I expected it to be worse. Does that make sense?
I suppose it makes sense. I mean, you say the movement profile was off on the secondaries. Not a lot. I mean, it was off more on the fastball, if anything. I don't like the key to Luzardo's breakthrough this year. I would pin it on improved velocity across the board, but especially on the secondaries. And it's just kind of transformed him into a higher level of pitcher. And that's been fine. That's been fine over the last couple starts. The velocity is still there. So for things to go this wrong this quickly, I mean, first of all, I don't want to turn this into a format superiority thing. You can enjoy whatever format you want. But the fact that Luzardo suddenly has a 4.46 ERA and 1.44 WHIP, all the good work wasted in 2
He's
starts.
He's been a lot more good than bad this season.
He has been. So
11
if you have
really
him in a head-to-head
starts,
league, it hurts a lot less
than
if you've started him all this time in a roto league and in a matter of 2 starts, he's gone from being a very, very big positive to your roto team to a very, very big negative for the whole season. And that sucks. And there's just so little margin for error for this kind of stuff in roto. And Luzardo's 2-start stretch here is emblematic of that. But putting that aside, I wonder if there's a pitch tipping thing. Now
That's
he
been
brought that
suggested.
up.
Yeah.
He brought that up himself. He said he looked at it after his last start. He looked at the video. He didn't see anything, but he's going to go back and look at it again because he feels like, one, they're attacking first pitch a lot and having a lot of success with that. And two, they're taking a lot of good pitches. So it's not like he has a firm answer. He's kind of searching for what's going on. And they feel pretty confident it's not a health thing. That would also be an obvious explanation for things turning so sour so fast. I don't think anybody really knows. So for me to sit here when the pitcher and the manager are both saying, I don't know, I'm not going to be able to figure it out.
Yeah.
I think all I'm able to say is, gosh, sit him.
Yeah, definitely. He's got the Cubs in his next start. Definitely.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, until he figures it out, which wasn't so obvious after his last start because,
it was just one start. Now it's twice
one
as many.
start. You flush it and move on. But now, now there's even more damage done.
Yeah. I think it's a clear sit for the time being, although the matchup against the Cubs, okay, you sit him, that's easy. I think the following one looks like it's going to be a 2-start week with the first start coming against the Marlins. So, what if he goes out and has 3 runs in 5 innings and the next one just kind of straddles the line between good and bad? You're probably just starting Jesus Luzardo in the next week.
Yeah. I mean, I would say whatever's very wrong right now, if things look more or less fine next time out, then with a very good matchup following a 2-start week, as you said, then you probably turn right back to him.
Yep.
Yeah, that's I think it's as simple as that. It's a really big problem with, I think, a really simple approach in fantasy. Just sit him until he looks okay again. And I think he probably will, based on what we're seeing under the hood. But
yeah, I think it's more likely than not that he's very useful moving forward. I would call him a buy low candidate right now. If people love to panic about these kind of things, and people love to take starts like this personally. I'm just gonna drop him,
spite drop. You see that a lot.
Don't do that. I guess if you're in a 10-team league, maybe, but don't spite drop Jesus Luzardo.
I mean, spite's just, you should always avoid spite in life.
I think so.
It's not a good look.
It's not a healthy emotion.
No.
But I would be trying to not drop Jesus Luzardo. I cannot say the same for your, oh my goodness gracious, player of the night.
Yeah.
I think this guy is just droppable in basically every league.
Yeah, it's Brandon Pfaadt, who himself had a laughably bad start last time out. He gave up 8 earned runs without recording a single out. That was against the Nationals. And he followed it up with a really ugly start in Atlanta. Gave up 6 runs, 5 earned, in just 3 innings of work. Average exit velocity was 97.2 miles per hour. And that's not a one-off for Pfaadt. It's worth pointing out. His average exit velocity for the season, I'm not even sure it counts this start, 2nd percentile. He gives up about as hard contact as any pitcher can. And it seemed like I had a lot of concerns about Pfaadt coming in. He was one of my bust picks, and it just seemed like everything that looked suspect to me has only gotten worse. He's become even less of a bat misser. He's getting up even harder contact. He has a good win-loss record, which I think masked some of those issues for a while. But now, I mean, we talked about what Luzardo's ERA looks like. Pfaadt's is up to 551 with a bad strikeout rate. And yeah, I don't know that I don't know that he's going to sit there. If you drop him now, he'll never be picked up again. There may be stretches where he's plenty streamable. But I think that is the range of starting pitcher he is. I don't think he's somebody who needs to be rostered all season long.
I mean, look, he's got a 5.14 career ERA over 343 innings. I don't really get why. I will say Brandon Pfaadt has gotten probably more benefit of the doubt for a elite pitching prospect type young pitcher than anyone I can think of. I know there have been stretches where he's been very useful and he's shown upside. And I think he had 3 different 10 strikeout games last season. It's a 5.14 ERA. And we're not talking about like a Shane Baz level prospect. So if we're dropping Max Meyer, I think that's the kind of player Brandon Pfaadt is more than anything. So I think Brandon Pfaadt is very easy to drop. Unfortunately, Scott, I'm so sorry. The Braves lost this game.
Yeah.
They scored 5 runs in 3 innings off Brandon Pfaadt. Then Tommy Henry replaced Brandon Pfaadt, and they scored 3 more in the next 4 innings against him. They entered the 9th inning with a 6-run lead.
10-4.
And this joke is less fun when he's on your team. But Scott blew it. Gave up 5 earned runs in the 9th.
Not on the team anymore.
Raisel Iglesias came in, allowed a couple of inherited runners to score, and then 3 more runs on 4 hits and a walk to blow it. Grant Holmes was not very good in this one, which is very disappointing because he was really good in May. 3.22 ERA, 38 strikeouts in 36 innings.
He started off this game great. It's just once they gave him a 6-0 lead, it's like he got in his head and wasn't able to throw strikes anymore, and they took him out the very next inning.
And they probably felt pretty good about their chances of getting the win after taking. Ketel Marte went 2 for 4 with a home run, 3 runs, 2 RBI. He has a 10.28 OPS on the season. He missed some time with that. Was a hamstring injury or quad?
It was some kind of leg injury. Yeah.
But he has been even more awesome than he was last season. And last season he was one of the 10 best players in fantasy.
Yep.
So
I mean, far and away the best second baseman. Far and away.
I think there's a bigger gap between him and any other position.
There's basically one good second baseman.
Unless
you buy into Brendan Donovan completely, I guess.
One bit of good news for the Atlanta Braves is that Ronald Acuna hit another home run. It was his 4th. He's hitting 333 with a 1056 OPS on the season. Excellent quality of contact metrics. You love to see all of that. I guess it's not surprising he has no stolen bases, right? Do you expect that to be a big part of his game?
I know Alex Anthopoulos does because I don't remember the exact quotes that were made weeks ago, but Acuna kind of said with a wink and a nod that he might take it easier on the base paths. And Alex Anthopoulos said, I don't believe him. He's gonna play his game. So it's not like it's a mandate from on high that he shouldn't run. I think eventually he'll get back to stealing bases. It's one of those things where, the sample is still so small.
When you've got a 1033 OPS, there's not a lot of opportunities to steal bases.
Not a lot of opportunities. I do want to comment on just the emotional aspect of this game a little bit, if I could, because I was watching it with my kids who are very into baseball. And
this is the kind of game that can, screw that up.
So like, I've got to say, like, I've been, following the Braves for probably like 30 years now, like on a very intense, close day-to-day level. And they're not the worst team in baseball. They don't have the worst offense in baseball, but really going back to last year, it's been very unfun to watch. They have not been a fun team to watch because even when they score runs, it seems to be all confined to like an inning.
Yeah.
And just like so much of the game is a total snooze. And so we finally get a game in the afternoon. The kids can watch the whole thing. It's fun. They are putting up runs just about every inning. It looks like an easy win. And then this happens in the ninth. I got to say they took it pretty well, considering. They were frustrated. I think my oldest one's reaction was, I think he actually said that was frustrating, which, he could have used, or annoying. I think he said annoying. That's annoying. So they weren't in tears or anything over it, but it pretty much ruined the day. And, I'm sure there are some families in Arizona, Diamondbacks fans with kids who, it made their day, and that's great. Like I understand how that works, but yeah, it was not a good moment in this household, not at all. I think it was rock bottom for a team that's been, the biggest disappointment in baseball, considering a lot of people had them in the World Series. Yeah, Orioles, I guess, are up there too. But yeah, it's been bad. Orioles are at least hot right now.
Yeah, I do want to ask before we move on to our first break, real quick. Raisel Iglesias, his ERA is up to 6.75. He only has 8 saves on the season, 25 strikeouts to 6 walks. It's still pretty good. The Braves did activate or recall Craig Kimbrell from AAA. Mm-hmm. Yep. Do you think there's any chance he factors into the saves situation?
I think there's a very good chance. He might be the favorite for the next save, to be perfectly honest, because I don't see how they can stick with Raisel Iglesias at this point. They used the excuse, and maybe excuse isn't a fair way to put it, because you looked at the numbers. His slider was just getting lambasted, like a 600 batting average against, with most of the home runs coming on that pitch. And he's a rare reliever with 4 pitches. So he has a full arsenal aside from the slider. It's his 4th most thrown pitch. And so they've just had him ditch the slider. Problem solved, right? Well, he's made 4 appearances since ditching the slider and has given up at least 1 earned run in 3 of them.
That's not good.
Yeah. So it's, I think just because the emotional toll of another Raisel Iglesias blown save would be so much that, I don't know that it'll be Craig Kimbrell for sure. It could be like Pierce Johnson or Dylan Lee, but
you just don't think it'll be Raisel Iglesias.
I just don't think it'll be Iglesias. And Kimbrell was on a good run at AAA. His velocity hasn't been as high there, which I think is why they delayed calling him up so much. But since they don't have an heir apparent here for Iglesias, it wouldn't surprise me at all if it's Kimbrell. I tried to add him in NL only and other deep leagues where saves are scarce.
All right. That's thanks to those watching live on our YouTube channel, Fantasy Baseball Today on YouTube. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe, and we will be right back after this.
Here we go. The 2025 CBS Sports NFL schedule is here. 18 glorious Sundays.
He's got his receiver touchdown.
Filled with rematches.
Oh, the play of the year.
And rivalries.
Touchdown, Bengals.
Plus, plenty of superstar showdowns. And an epic matchup between the Chiefs and Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Clear your Sundays beginning September 7th for the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
Welcome back to Fantasy Baseball Today. I am Chris Towers here with Scott White, and let's talk about the news and notes from Thursday. And hey, we got another prospect promotion and an embarrassment of riches at the catcher position. We've always said that there are too many good catchers in baseball, and it's never been more true. Kyle Teel is being promoted from AAA Charlotte to join the White Sox on Friday. He is hitting .295, .394 on base, .492 slugging percentage. Oh, so close to the golden ratio of triple slash line. On the season, he's got a good approach at the plate. He's shown some speed in the past. There has been some talk of him playing some first base. I don't know if he actually did down at AAA, but obviously that's only a concern because the White Sox have a very similar catching prospect in Edgar Quero, who's already up and finding some success at the major league level. So they are going to have to find a way to get both of them in the lineup. They might just be their 2 best players right now with how bad Luis Robert has been. Luis Robert sat out a 3rd straight game on Thursday Haven't heard anything about an injury, so I assume they're just trying to get him right with extra work on the side. But yeah, I think Kyle Teal and Edgar Caro are basically going to play every day somewhere, catcher/DH, maybe first base. No reason those two guys shouldn't be in the lineup as often as they can handle it. Is Kyle Teal just a must-add player in any two-catcher league?
Two-catcher league, sure. One-catcher league, I don't see how you could put him in the rosterable range yet, just because there are so many other good options. You sound a little more confident than I am that they'll both play every day. And look, they don't have a dedicated DH. The White Sox, they've been playing Andrew Benintendi a lot there since he returned. So like if they wanted to make it work, they could. I think Kyle Teal will have to earn it. He had been hot at AAA last 28 games, slashing 353, 450, 569. But he is kind of he's an unconventional prospect in that he doesn't have like a standout tool. He's kind of just pretty good at everything, decent to pretty good at everything. And sometimes when you get that guy up against major league pitching, it goes disastrously. Now I'm fairly optimistic for Teal. I've compared him to JT Realmuto in the past. And JT Realmuto had a multi-year run as the best catcher in fantasy. But I don't like that Kyle Teal was striking out 25% of the time at AAA. I feel like he doesn't have enough thump in the bat to get away with doing that. I mean, 26 or 25% of the time against AAA pitchers, what's that going to translate to in the majors? So he's got to earn it. I think he's got to earn what playing time he gets. And so it's a way to wait and see in most cases, but could I get him in my top 24 right away to make him worth adding in two catcher leagues? Sure. That's not a stretch at all.
All right. Matthew Liberatore left Thursday's game after struggling in 4+ innings. His velocity was down across the board overall, but it crashed late in that start. He threw 2 4-seamers in the 5th inning that were 91 and 89.5 miles per hour. He's averaging 94.4 for the season, and then he left with a trainer after that. I have not seen any update, but that doesn't seem good. So that's something to keep an eye out for. One of the biggest breakout starting pitchers so far this season. So hopefully he's okay.
Though a couple bad starts in a row for him's got his ERA over 380 now.
Yep. Francisco Lindor fractured his right pinky toe during Wednesday's game, but he's going to try to play through. Did I misspell pinky there? Is that how you Pinkie? Is it Pinky? It is, right?
I think both are acceptable. Both? I think both are acceptable. And I know there was some indecision with the CBS Sports Style Guide back when I first started working for the company, and they kept their own style guide. I'm not sure that's such a priority anymore, but yeah, there was some indecision over how we should agree to spell pinky. So I think either way is acceptable.
I spelled it IE and it doesn't look right. I don't like it. I'm going to make the executive decision that it's Pinky.
There you go.
Anyway, Mookie Betts is going to try to play through this injury. He was out of the lineup on Thursday, but the expectation at this point is he'll avoid the IL, but obviously that could change. The Rockies could call up Ryan Ritter from AAA to replace Ezekiel Tovar if his oblique injury forces him on the IL, which kind of seems like it will. Very, very rarely do players avoid the IL when they have an oblique injury. Ritter is MLB Pipeline's number 12 prospect. It's a bad system, but he has 16 home runs in 52 games at AAA this season. He's got an OPS over 1,000. Albuquerque is a great place to hit, so that's inflated, but he was pretty good previous couple of seasons, has some pop and some speed. Would you have any interest in Ryan Ritter if he gets the call?
Yeah, sure. I would. I shortstop is, even in the deep sort of leagues where you'd add a second catcher, shortstop, I would say, is a position of greater need than catcher. So, the exit velocities are at least solid for Ryan Ritter. The plate discipline is good, and he's going to be playing half his games in Colorado if it happens. And he has been one of the. He's 24 years old, but he's been kind of a pop-up prospect this year because not a lot of people were talking about him prior to it.
All right. Josh Naylor is day-to-day with a hand and shoulder injury. He's been playing through for a while, especially that shoulder. So maybe that explains the mediocre power production for Josh Naylor so far this season. Kyle Tucker was back in the lineup for the Cubs on Thursday after missing a couple games with a jammed ring finger. He went 1 for 4 with 2 walks, I believe. I didn't put it in the notes, but I think that's what he did. Xander Bogaerts missed Thursday's game after leaving Wednesday's with a shoulder injury. Carlos Correa missed his second straight game with a back injury. Shane Bieber, this one sucks. He won't make his next scheduled start Friday at AA after he came out of his last bullpen session with some soreness. He met with some team doctors, and he's going to meet with orthopedic surgeon Keith Meister to determine the next steps. This feels pretty ominous for a guy coming back from Tommy John surgery, who we just talked about, I think, yesterday.
Yep.
As one of the potential Pablo Lopez replacements. We don't know anything more than that, but you never like to see the second opinion from an orthopedic surgeon.
If nothing else, we know Shane Bieber isn't going to be back as soon as we were saying yesterday, which was hopefully within a couple weeks. Not going to happen now.
Shea Langoliers was removed from Thursday's game due to what was termed left flank soreness, which I'm assuming is like side. I don't really know the term flank outside of like cut of beef.
Right. Like what part?
I would think that's like oblique or lat.
What part of the cow is the flank steak?
I don't know. Love a flank steak, though. Some ropa vieja. Love that.
Oh, yeah.
So hopefully Shea Langoliers is okay. Hopefully it doesn't end up like ropa vieja. It's all shredded. That'd be bad.
That is my favorite Cuban dish. So you're speaking my language.
Yes. The Rangers optioned Kumar Rocker back to AAA after his iffy showing on Wednesday. They activated Chris Martin from the IL. They got to give him a shot, right? Robert Garcia struggled on Thursday. Like, I know they've tried to avoid pigeonholing Chris Martin into that 9th inning role, and they like having him be flexible, but like everyone else is bad in that bullpen.
Yeah, but why? Why do they insist on that with Chris Martin? Is there something unique about Chris Martin? Because I feel like teams don't usually do this when they have one reliever that is clearly better than all the rest. They're like, but he can't pitch the 9th. That would be heresy. I don't know. It's been strange this whole time, especially seeing how Chris Martin started the season. Maybe the fact now that Luke Jackson has washed out and that Robert Garcia is struggling, maybe Bruce Bochy will have to relent on that finally. But I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Justin Wrobleski will start for the Dodgers Friday against the Cardinals. Kirby Yates, coming back from a hamstring injury, and Michael Kopech from his shoulder, could both be back for the Dodgers this weekend. There was a point earlier this week where Dave Roberts said Kirby Yates or Tanner Scott is not the closer. I think he's the closer. I think he's gotten 2 saves since Dave Roberts said that, or at least 2 save opportunities. But, with Yates and Kopech back, do you think it's going to be just a committee?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I would say the Dodgers bullpen is getting to be as frustrating as the Marlins, except the Dodgers are really good and
they at least get saves.
They're going to get saves often enough that maybe they could divide it between 3 guys and they could just all be useful for fantasy. But I don't think any of them is going to be, one of the top closers in fantasy, just because they have no inclination to give any one pitcher that high a percentage of the saves.
All right. Brandon Woodruff was pulled from his rehab assignment after being diagnosed with a right elbow contusion. It could have been worse. He was hit on that elbow by a comebacker in his most recent start, but he will have to take some time off before ramping back up. This is the second setback that Woodruff has had in returning from that shoulder surgery, and I don't really think he's worth stashing. I know he's been fairly widely rostered in CBS, and if you've got unlimited IL spots, sure, there's no harm, but if you have to make a decision, Brandon Woodruff feels like an easy cut in basically any league for me.
Yeah, it's a luxury stash. I would agree. I don't have a lot of confidence coming back from this serious shoulder surgery. His velocity is down like 3 miles per hour. They're going to give him a shot, but I'm not optimistic.
All right, something to watch. Christian Encarnacion Strand started at third base on Wednesday on his rehab assignment. It's the first time he's played there on his rehab assignment, and just maybe a sign that they want to get him in the lineup when he's healthy. So that's something to keep an eye on. And then Luis Arias left Thursday's game with left knee soreness. So that is another thing to keep an eye on, though it didn't sound too serious. Let's move on to a next segment. I love to just have a segment where I just say something, and it's a segment. So this segment is, what do we make of this then? And that's just asking you about guys who played on Thursday. That's all.
Sure.
Let's not overcomplicate things. Cole Reagans returned from the IL, and he was not very good. 5 earned runs in 3 innings, 5 hits, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. Fastball velocity was down 1 mile per hour in his return from the groin injury. He still got 11 swinging strikes on 78 pitches. Just rust? Any concerns?
I think so. The one, I guess, reason to wonder is that his one minor league rehab start on May 31st was also bad.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that the stuff mostly looked okay, the fastball velocity was down a little, yes, but everything else was normal. Mostly he just didn't throw strikes. Walked 3 in 3 innings, 60% strike rate, which isn't very good. I'll give Reagans a pass, and I believe he lines up for 2 starts next week. So I think everybody should be motivated to give him a pass. No, he doesn't line up for 2 starts. That's right. Chris Bubich. They ended up skipping Chris Bubich this week. So sorry to all the people who started Chris Bubich this week. We didn't know until today that they were going to do this.
I mean, you'd still start Chris Bubich with 1 start.
Well, except it's going to be 0 now.
Oh, it's 0 starts.
0. Yeah, they're just skipping him this time.
Oh, well, that's bad.
So now Chris Bubich lines up for 2 starts next week because they're gonna reintroduce him through rotation.
You know, Scott, you were talking all that stuff about the downsides of roto leagues. Well, roto leagues, you just get all those starts. You don't lose the starts for this week. So
that's true.
There you go, in your face.
Roto giveth and taketh away.
Is Marcus Semien back? He's got his OPS all the way up to 600 now after going 3 for 4 with 2 solo homers on Tuesday. No, but he has been better lately. He has multiple hits in 3 of his past 6 games. 3 of his 6 homers for the season have come in that span. And his expected WOBA over the past 50 plate appearances entering Thursday, so that was before he hit 2 home runs. His expected WOBA over his past 50 plate appearances was 378. That's not a range you usually see Marcus Semien in. Did we give up on Marcus Semien too early?
Well, did we give up on him? Because he remains in my top 12 and I haven't dropped him anywhere. We adjusted our expectations for him, but I think given how thin second base is, it paid to retain some hope.
Mm-hmm.
And there's even more reason to retain hope now. I don't think it's a final verdict. Yeah, he's fine now. Everything's going to be totally normal. But if you were tempted, if you were on the edge with Semien, now you're not. Now you're incentivized to hold on. And most of the underlying data for Semien looks pretty close to normal. It's all just kind of a little bit down. The strikeout rate is probably the biggest thing. It's up. But even that, I mean, you go back to his Toronto days, his strikeout rate is similar to that.
Mm-hmm.
His still 77th percentile sprint speed. That's a little down, but it's still a good sprint speed. Average exit velocity, very normal. Max exit velocity, very normal. Pull air rate, down a little, but still
within
better
a reasonable
than most
range,
players. Yeah. So there's reason to hold out hope for Semien. But it's not totally for certain that he's just back to normal either.
All right. Ryan Pepio had another good start. That's 6 quality starts in a row. He allowed 2 earned runs on 3 hits in 6 innings with 8 strikeouts. I believe that's a season high for Ryan Pepio. 2 walks. That was against Texas. I put Tampa Bay in the notes, but it was Texas. And Texas's lineup is just bad at this point. It's weird. I still think they'll figure it out at some point, but they've just been bad all season. 6 straight quality starts for Ryan Pepio, but only 2 starts in that span with more than 5 strikeouts, just 30 and 42 innings overall in that stretch. Fastball and changeup were really good today, 17 swinging strikes, but on the whole, fastball's been much less effective than it was last season. Do you agree with me that Ryan Pepiot is a sell high candidate?
Yeah, I think so. There isn't a lot to be encouraged by other than the ERA itself, and that is like the clearest reason to sell high on a pitcher. He's prevented runs from scoring, which is a very important thing.
That's the goal.
That is the goal, and so that's why people are likely to pay for it. Why you could succeed in selling high, but there has to be reasons why a pitcher is good at preventing runs, and I don't see the reasons why Pepiot is. His control is decent. His swinging strikes underwhelming. He is still more of a fly ball pitcher than a ground ball pitcher. The fly ball rate is a little down this year, but still, you don't want much of a fly ball rate at all at that home venue. So I think home runs could become even more of an issue than they've been. And yeah, I mean, just look at all the expected stats for him. They're about a run higher. All the ERA estimators are run higher than his actual ERA.
All right, let's ask the same question about Casey Mize and David Peterson, both of whom have sub-3 ERAs, although kind of going in different directions. Casey Mize has been scuffling since coming off the IL. He's only got 7 strikeouts to 6 walks over the past 2 starts. It's 13 to 7 walks since coming off the IL. Still roughly an average strikeout pitcher. Command has been good, but doesn't have a super long track record of that. I don't really buy Casey Mize. Where are you at on him?
Yeah, I think he's pretty fringy. So I mean, I don't think you were asking the sell high question with him. I don't think anybody's looking to buy that much. He is missing a lot more bats just in terms of swinging strike rate.
Yeah,
than in
the splitter
past.
especially has been great.
But there hasn't been like a really impressive start in a while, and I don't think that's enough for me to feel obligated to hold on to Mize. I'm not saying he's a must drop, but I wouldn't mind dropping him.
All right, and then David Peterson, he's got like a 2.88 ERA since the start of last season. Are we just totally underrating this guy?
Well, I do think I can, unlike Ryan Pepiot, I can point to a reason why David Peterson is good at run prevention, and that's because he's one of the best ground ball pitchers in the game, and it's been truer than ever this year. 57% ground ball rate, at least according to how Fangraphs measures that. And the strikeouts have been decent. For somebody with that high of a ground ball rate, it's a decent strikeout rate. So the biggest issue, I think, is efficiency, because he walks a fair amount of batters, and so that keeps his starts on the shorter side. But when he goes deep into games with those ground balls, with the Mets lineup backing him, I think David Peterson is solid enough. Yeah, I mean, he's going to be a net negative for whip and strikeouts. I mean, decent strikeout rate, but still a net negative compared to who else you could put there. But he's going to be a net positive for ERA and wins, I think. So it's a bit of a trade-off.
And then Noah Cameron, he can't keep getting away with it, right? It's 6 innings today, no earned runs, 2 walks, 2 hits, 3 strikeouts. The Cardinals had 8 batted balls over 98 miles per hour today. They got 2 singles out of them. The rest were outs. Strikeouts aren't everything. But if you're going to be this dependent on your defense, you've got to be superlative in multiple different ways. And to be fair, Cameron's had very good control and very good results on balls in play so far. But it just really feels like Bowden Francis last year to me. Maybe I'm being unfair. Maybe I'm being too close-minded. But I can see Cameron settling in as like a Jose Barrios or Chris Bassett type who's like useful. But he's not a star. There's just no there's nothing in his skill set that suggests that Noah Cameron's going to be a difference maker moving forward. Not even like sub 1 ERA. That's obviously unsustainable. But like, I think he's more like a 3.85 ERA guy than an 0.85 ERA guy.
Yeah. Is anybody arguing he's a star? Because
I don't know. Maybe.
He's only 62% rostered, which I think is...
That's reasonable.
Yeah, I think it's reasonable. I think at this point he should probably be rostered in most leagues. It's sort of like we were talking about with Lance McCullers yesterday, except I have even less optimism for Cameron than McCullers, and my optimism for McCullers was definitely muted. But he's, sometimes you just got to bet against your own sensibilities because baseball's a weird sport and many things are unpredictable in it still. And so when a guy has a run of success like this, the hit prevention has been particularly noteworthy. And that's, usually I tie that to a high fly ball rate, which hasn't really been true in Cameron's case. So yeah, there's plenty of reason to be skeptical. But there are some unknown variables sometimes.
Okay. And do not drop Jesus Luzardo for Noah Cameron.
No.
Let's get out ahead of that.
Yeah, of course not. I don't mean to. I don't want to sound like I'm.
No, you love Noah Cameron. We get it.
Can you believe somebody commented on the YouTube video yesterday? Like, I don't get Scott's hate for Mackenzie Gore. And what did I say yesterday about Mackenzie Gore? Like, what about that conversation came off as hateful toward Mackenzie Gore?
You only want to rank him as a top 24 starting pitcher, Scott.
Yeah, I know. No, nobody wants to hear me whine about YouTube comments. But anyway, that one was an odd one. Yeah, so like, I think in the long run, Cameron's going to become a streamer at best. But at this point, he probably needs to be rostered. I would drop Brandon Pfaadt for him, for instance.
Oh yeah, that's an easy one.
Yeah, it's like somebody in your league. It may not be you, but somebody in your league has a pitcher that doesn't need to be rostered anymore, and they can pick up Noah Cameron and hope for the best. But it's probably not going to get it.
That's all fair. Let's take a break. We'll talk Week 12 preview right after this.
Let's go. Just cuts it into the song. Goes down in the gut. Keep on being.
Victory here in Shanghai. You want, baby?
Welcome back to Fantasy Baseball Today, and now it's time for the Week 12 preview, brought to you by Travis Matthew, apparel designed for confidence and comfort no matter where your day takes you. Father's Day is approaching, and Travis Matthew has some great package deals they're offering. More on that in a bit, but first, let's talk about Week 12. 26 teams play 6 games, 4 teams play 7 games. So we got a jam-packed schedule. We got the Cubs, Pirates, Brewers, and Cardinals getting that extra game, so get your NL Central guys in your lineups. And then what about the Rockies? They've got 3 games at home versus San Francisco, 3 on the road at Atlanta. Was there something you wanted to add? Sorry, I heard a noise.
Nope. I am.
Okay.
Go ahead and keep setting it up for me.
All right. Let's talk 2 start pitchers to add and stream. And are we just doing it? We're just throwing Yuri Perez right back in our lineups. Week 1, we've watched Spencer Strider. We've watched Sandy Alcantara. They've been terrible in their returns from their elbow injury. Shohei Ohtani may never pitch again. That's an exaggeration. He's almost certainly going to pitch this season. But the point is, it has not gone well for the guys coming back from Tommy John surgery this season. And we're just throwing Yuri Perez right back in there because he starts with a 2-start week at Pittsburgh, at Washington.
I mean, unless you can give me a better pitcher rostered in less than 80% of CBS Sports leagues to start, I think Yuri Perez is at the top of the list. Yeah, with those matchups, with the fact his velocity looked good on his rehab assignment. You don't have to do it. These are sleeper pitchers after all. And I'm not, if you go look at my 2-start pitcher rankings, it's not like Yuri Perez is in the must-start category. He's pretty high, though, in the 2-start pitcher rankings. But yeah, I think because he lines up for 2 starts, in most cases, you'll throw caution to the wind and hope he delivers 2 good outcomes.
We've also got Jack Leiter, who had a pretty good start on Thursday, 6 strikeouts, 5 innings, 1 earned run. He gets the Twins and the White Sox next week. That's pretty good.
So I like those matchups. Yes. It isn't clear that he'll actually make 2 starts. It relies on the Rangers sticking with a 4-man rotation until Nathan Eovaldi returns next weekend, which they have the off days that like nobody's going on short rest for doing that.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't surprise me if they called up someone for a spot start and ruined Jack Leiter's 2-start week that way. I also don't know that Leiter is as good as the results have been lately, because he's not missing bats at a very good rate at all, and his walk rate is as high as it's always been. That's always been an issue for him. So
no, he's been pretty disappointing since he came back from the IL, unfortunately.
And these are numbers 1 and 2 on the sleeper pitcher list. So
yeah, there are some interesting, like widely available types, especially among the 2 starts, but I don't have a ton of confidence in any of them. Mitch Keller does get the Marlins for his first start. I think that's a pretty good one against the Cubs. Griffin Canning, Nationals, and Tampa Bay. At least that's not in Tampa Bay, so that should be a little better. Zebby Matthews, they've shown the willingness to let him go deep if he's pitching well, so he just has to pitch well. And versus Texas, like I mentioned earlier, that's a really good matchup. Who else do you like next week?
So just among 2 start options, though. So yeah, we've been through Yuri Perez, Jack Leiter, Mitch Keller. Did you mention Griffin Canning?
Yes.
Griffin Canning, Zebby Matthews. Those are the top 5 streamer 2-start sleepers, let's call them. Jeffrey Springs is on this list as well. He gets the Angels and he gets the Royals, 2 lineups that pitchers, they're easy to pick on. And Springs has been pretty steady of late. I know 2 turns ago he got knocked around a bit, but basically since the start of May, it's been a lot of quality starts for Jeffrey Springs. I don't know that you'd want to risk your ratios in a roto league, but I think in a points league for the 2 starts, he's fine. Luis Ortiz,
I like this one.
Also more of a points league play with the relief pitcher eligibility you can take advantage of. He gets the Reds and the Mariners. With 2 starts, should give you between 12 and 15 strikeouts, I'd say. Clark Schmidt gets the Royals and the Red Sox. And also
got to avoid those like 1 bad innings. That seems to be his problem. He just like has to avoid the big blow up inning.
Yeah. So Springs, Ortiz, Schmidt, I would leave all of them for points leagues in an ideal scenario, but they give you that extra start, and in points leagues, that's golden sometimes. A couple of 1-start streamers that I like: Hayden Birdsong at Colorado. Even in Colorado, I'm happy to pick on Colorado.
Yeah.
And then Shane Smith at Texas. You've brought it up a couple times. The Rangers have the 3rd worst offense so far this year. Oh, nope, I'm not giving them enough credit. 4th worst offense. But a worse offense than the White Sox
that's wild.
Maybe the best way to say it. It is unbelievable. It is unlikely to last, but it is nonetheless true so far. And I think Shane Smith should do fine against them.
All right, let's move on to the hitters for week 12. The best hitter matchups. Love it. Love to see the Marlins and Angels at the top where they belong. They need all the help they can get. They've got the 2 best matchups, Pittsburgh and Washington for the Marlins. Angels get the Athletics and Baltimore. Then you got the Braves, Reds, and Pirates. Not the fiercest lineups among the best hitter matchups this week. And then on the other side, naturally, some of the best lineups in baseball have some bad matchups. The Yankees, they get the Royals and Red Sox. The Blue Jays get the Phillies and Cardinals. Dodgers, you're just starting them anyway. It doesn't matter. Rockies and Nationals. And let's talk about these sleeper hitters. And we've got, seems like a lot of outfielders out there, but we've got some Marlins. Let's hear about some of them.
Yeah. So I have to say, just like I wasn't so thrilled with my sleeper pitcher selection this week, I'm even less thrilled with my sleeper hitter selection. And that's after a couple weeks where I actually thought I had too many to fit in a top 10. It was a struggle to get to 10 this time. So at the very top of the list is Josh Lowe, who doesn't play for any of the teams with the best hitter matchups, but the Rays are scheduled to face nothing but righties, which means Lowe should be in the lineup for every game. And the toughest pitcher they're scheduled to face is Clay Holmes. So it's okay matchups. Really, though, the surplus of righties is reason to get Lowe in. Jonathan Aranda, too. He doesn't qualify for this list anymore. He's been picked up in too many leagues, but it's a good week to start him as well because of all those righties. Kyle Stowers back below the 80% rostered threshold after a slow week, but you mentioned the Marlins have the best hitter matchups. I still think he is the best choice to take advantage of those. Other Marlins who make the cut here, Agustin Ramirez, who plays more often than the typical catcher. And, for some reason you don't like the catcher you already have, and he's out there. He's still out there in a third of CBS Sports leagues, amazingly. Good time to try him out. Xavier Edwards also makes the cut here. He
should be second base eligible by next week.
That's true. Which helps because that's very weak position. Michael Busch has been hot lately, and the Cubs are one of the teams with 5 games, 2 lefties on this. I'm sorry, 7 games, 2 lefties on the schedule. So Busch may only start 5 of those games, but that would be enough to call him a sleeper hitter. Matt Shaw, taking advantage of that 7-game schedule. I added him to this list because he just had a big game Thursday, 3 for 5 with 2 stolen bases, up to 7 on the season. He is kind of a weird, he's been fine since returning from the minors. He's been contributing in fantasy with a 300 batting average and all the steals, but his average exit velocity since returning is still 83 miles per hour.
Yeah.
So how thrilled should we be with Matt Shaw? This week, anyway, at least
he's being an aggressive base stealer. He stole another base on Thursday.
There you go. Two actually. Let's see. Lourdes Gurriel is here with the Diamondbacks having pretty good matchups. The splits actually don't favor him. He is not as good at home as on the road, and all their games are at home. You're asking, why am I calling Lourdes Gurriel a sleeper and then giving all these points against him? Fair point. I'm just explaining why he's so far down the list rather than being at the top. So Andrew McCutchen, only 5% rostered. He's a sleeper hitter for this week. He was strong at the end of he was strong. He was on a good run as of about a week ago. I know he just had a bad game Thursday. I wish I had a better option for you. But he is only 5% rostered, and the Pirates have the 5th best hitter matchups, one of those teams playing 7 games. Isaiah Kiner Falefa with a lot of eligibility, some batting average steals help. He's also on this list for the Pirates' favorable schedules. I mentioned the splits didn't favor Lourdes Gurriel. I talked about how they were at home, but also nothing but righties. Not good for him, but that is good for Pavin Smith.
Yep.
Who should be in the lineup every day. He has better numbers at home than on the road. Hasn't been productive, hasn't been providing much in fantasy lately, only 26% rostered. But I think this is a week where if you're hurting at first base or the outfield, he could make an impact.
And that was the weekly preview for Week 12, brought to you by Travis Matthew, apparel designed for confidence and comfort, no matter where the day takes you. We are big fans of Travis Matthew here. I've got my collarless polo. Scott, you've got your Braves shirt. Unfortunately, it comes on a day when the Braves didn't give you a lot to be happy about. But
my wife loves this shirt,
great.
by the way. I almost don't know that the video does it justice. The way it feels. Every time I wear it, she comments on it.
See, that's great to hear. And they've got some Father's Day packages on sale until June 5th. Travis Matthews Father's Day bundles let you build the perfect outfit starting at just $100. Polo, shirts, hats, even their fan favorite open to close pant. Mix and match to fit his style and your budget. No guessing sizes, no scrambling for the last minute. Just stylish, ready to wrap outfit bundles from Travis Matthew. So once again, big thanks to Travis Matthew for making clothes for any occasion that are not only comfy, but stylish too. And Scott, we're going to do some trivia. I don't have like a fun song that will evoke memories of the mid 2000s or anything like that. We're just doing some trivia. Okay.
I
Matt
like
Damon
trivia.
is not involved in this.
We don't need the bells and whistles
But
necessarily.
I just don't have. Frank's got like a thing where you can just hit a button and voices come out. I don't have that.
You could sing it.
I could, but like the riff is really the big thing with that. So we're not going to do that. I've got guests here, so I can't break out my guitar and play it. But I was doing my rankings on Thursday, and some stuff surprised me. So we're going to talk about the 2025 Roto rankings. That's what all this trivia is based on. And we will start with the catcher position. Scott, which of these catchers is not ranked in the top 6 at the position in 2025 to date? Hunter Goodman, Shea Langoliers, William Contreras, or Wilson Contreras? Who is not a top 6 catcher this season?
Wilson Contreras.
Were you looking? Did you cheat?
No, I didn't.
That is true. That is correct. And I picked this one just because I feel like people would think it was William Contreras. He's been a big disappointment. Wilson Contreras obviously was very disappointing early on, but he's been really good for a while. And yet, William Contreras, top 6 catcher. How about that? As disappointing as it's been.
Yeah, I mean, it's all relative, right? I mean, disappointing by his standards, but still, I want to see if Wilson Contreras has fallen off. So it has been a rough couple weeks for Wilson.
Okay.
But yeah, I happened to notice as I was updating my catcher rankings earlier this week that the overall numbers haven't looked so great for him.
All right, we got one Scott does know. Who ranks the highest out of these first basemen this season? Bryce Harper, Tyler Soderstrom, Josh Naylor, or Paul Goldschmidt? Who is the highest ranking of those 4?
We're doing Roto?
Rotisserie.
Is it updated with Soderstrom's 2-homer game?
I don't think so. I mean, I was looking at like 11 o'clock at night, so it might be.
I think it's Harper.
It is not.
Okay.
It is. I thought this was shocking. Josh Naylor is the number 3 third baseman this season.
First baseman.
And he has not really been that good. He's got a really high batting average. I think he's hitting 293, 289, but only 7 homers. He's on like 100 RBI pace, only on like a 75 run pace. You know what it is, though? He's got 9 steals.
Does he?
Did you realize Josh Naylor has 9 steals with his? That is 3 stolen bases per percentile that he ranks in sprint speed. He is in the 3rd percentile in sprint speed and is 9 for 11 on stolen bases.
I knew he was pretty high in the points league rankings, and the low strikeout rate always helps with that. But I thought in Roto, I mean, the steals obviously makes a big difference. I don't know that we should count on him having 25 steals this year. And for what it's worth, he did leave today with a minor shoulder or hand. Yeah.
He's been dealing with the hand and shoulder. Yeah.
Yeah. So, doesn't sound like a big deal, but worth bringing up.
All right, let's move on. Which of the following second basemen is a top 100 player this season? Brendan Donovan, Brandon Lau, Tommy Edman, or Gleyber Torres? Only one of them ranks in the top 100 overall this season.
It's got to be Brendan Donovan, right?
It does not got to be Brendan Donovan. He is 104th.
Torres?
Brandon Lau
really?
is the number 88 player in Roto leagues. He had done nothing up until about 3 weeks ago, but he leads the second base position with 12 home runs. He's got 33 RBI, 32 runs. Those aren't even particularly impressive run and RBI totals, but he is on a 30 homer pace, which Ketel Marte and Jorge Polanco are the only other second baseman with more than 8, I believe, this season. So that helps explain some of it, but I found that pretty surprising about our dude, Brandon Lau. You would think we'd be doing some victory laps on that one with how much we liked him.
Yeah, it's been so it's been confined to such a short period of time that like the Brandon Lau experience, I think this is part of the reason why he keeps dropping outside the top 200 in drafts, is like the experience of having him is not as enjoyable as the final numbers end up being, because if you lose faith and bench him at the wrong time, you're missing
You might
a
miss out on
quarter
a
of his
4 home run week.
production for the year.
All right. How many players in a Roto league rank higher than Pete Crow Armstrong so far?
In a Roto league, how many players? I got to come up with that precise number.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely Judge, definitely Ohtani. Anyone else? Is there somebody obvious I'm forgetting? Yeah, I'm going to say it's just those two. 2 players rank ahead of Pete Crow Armstrong.
You nailed it. Exactly 2. I was going to ask you to name them, but you beat me to it.
I already did it. I'm not sharp.
Let's move on. How many outfielders currently rank ahead of James Wood in Roto for the season? And can you name them? Presumably you can name at least 2.
Yeah. So Judge and Crow Armstrong.
Yep.
Corbin Carroll.
That's one of them.
He's kind of fallen off.
Has he?
Fernando Tatis.
Oh, he is right behind James Wood.
But there's one more. There's one I'm missing. So it's 4.
I don't know how many there are. There's no way of knowing.
O'Neal Cruz.
Nope.
No, batting average is too low.
He is 7th at the position.
Who am I forgetting? I'm forgetting somebody, or you would have cut me off already. Right?
Yep. Someone in the comments has it, but you can't look. You're not allowed.
Oh, I'm not allowed to look at the comments.
That would be cheating.
Man.
No, it is not Andy Pajes, commenter.
Who am I forgetting?
Although Andy Pajes somehow a top 20 player or top 40 player overall.
I can't think of it. I don't wanna hold up the show.
Kyle Tucker.
Oh yeah, Kyle.
Yeah, there was one obvious one. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Who is the number 1 starting pitcher in fantasy right now?
It's Max Fried, right?
Maybe after tonight. This was before tonight.
Okay. So as of Thursday morning, the top pitcher in fantasy and in Roto specifically, because that might make a big difference. Format. It's not Max Fried. So is it Tarek Skubal?
It is not Tarek Skubal. That would be way too easy.
Yeah.
He's all the way at number 3.
Mm-hmm. Behind Fried.
Max Fried's number 4, actually.
Come on, man. So who am I forgetting? Is it Hunter Brown?
Number 2.
Man, who's been better than them?
We were talking about him yesterday. Obliquely. He wasn't like a direct point of conversation, but he was mentioned multiple times yesterday.
It's not still Hunter Green, right? We
It's not
talked about
Hunter
him
Green.
yesterday. Yeah. It's I don't know.
Carlos Rodon.
Really?
Yeah, 98 strikeouts, a 2.48 ERA, 0.93 WHIP, and 8 wins. That's
wow.
Pretty good for Carlos Rodon.
The wins
help.
count for a lot, and the wins are not something we usually analyze much.
Yeah, we don't really think of it. Interesting, 4 of the top 5 are lefties. Carlos Rodon, Hunter Brown, a righty, then Tarek Skubal, Max Fried, and Garrett Crochet are the top 5 starting pitchers in fantasy right now. And then, all right, we'll do one more. 4 closers have at least 17 saves this season. Can you name them?
Probably not, but I'll try. 4 closers with 17 saves. I'm going to get it wrong with my first guess, probably Robert Suarez.
Number 1, Robert Suarez.
Who else? I'm going to say Kyle Finnegan.
Kyle Finnegan is tied for number 2 at 17.
Wow. Pulled that out of my butt. All right. Who else?
I think it is fair to say that we were not excited about any of these 4 pitchers coming into the season, although one of them is actually very, very good. He's just been surprisingly getting a lot of saves.
Huh. Okay. Gosh, who else is up there? Andres Munoz.
Andres Munoz is the one I was referring to just now. So you got one more.
I might do it.
You might do it.
I might do it. Somebody else who we weren't excited about coming in.
At all.
At all. No enthusiasm for this guy. And this guy would be... I can't think of a name.
He was the second most exciting reliever on his own team coming into the season.
Can you give me a league?
American
League. Okay. Oh, Carlos Estevez.
Carlos
See, that's all it
Estevez.
took. I just needed the league.
Yeah,
Cut
I
the
thought those
team.
were some interesting and fun rankings for the season.
I think they were too. I had fun and I learned a lot.
I'm glad you had fun and learned. That's the whole, it's like the magic school bus. That's what we're here for.
Mhm.
All right, let's very quickly do some pitching leftovers. Where are we at on Dylan Cease? It's been a weird year. He has struggled despite actually, I think, his lowest walk rate of his career so far. 5 innings, 3 earned runs, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts on Thursday at San Francisco. He was showing signs of pulling out of it in May, but 3 straight with 5 innings pitched or less and at least 3 earned runs allowed. And my concern with Dylan Cease is that he has already pulled the throw sliders in case of emergency lever. And I just don't know if he's got another trick after that.
Yeah, I hear you. And it's frustrating. And I hope we don't have to rank him as high next year. Just so, not because I don't think he could repeat his 2024 production, just because we know there are flaws here and we know there are going to be headaches. But he has underperformed all of his ERA estimators by a substantial margin. And I think the best choice now is to just keep the faith. You're stuck with him now. In the long run, you're probably going to be happier than you are today.
Robbie Ray went 7 innings, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts. He's got 53 strikeouts to 13 walks in 46 innings since the start of May with a 1.57 ERA. He might just be really, really good.
He might be. How high was he in the year-to-date Roto rankings? Because I feel like
he's top 12.
Carlos Rodon have been kind of joined at the hip. I guess just a win difference there.
Yeah, no, he's been really, really good.
Yep.
Let's see. Zach Eflin, 2 quality starts in a row for Eflin coming back. Had been struggling since coming back from the IL before that. Has a really good, I think he has a sub-1 whip on the season now because he has like 6 walks. He's just had unbelievable control.
Oh, you know what? Robbie Ray just got his 8th win today, so it's not a win difference. Anyway,
I would guess whip is the biggest difference.
Yeah. Well,
Rodon is at 0.93, Robbie Ray 1.11 coming into today. So, well, and actually coming into today, Robbie Ray had 20 fewer strikeouts than Carlos Rodon, as good as he's been. Carlos Rodon has just been ridiculous.
He has been, like, I knew he's been good, but when you compare it to Robbie Ray like that, he's also been good. Like
4th most strikeouts in baseball, 1 behind Tarek Skubal. Yeah, it's pretty good.
I forget who you were talking about.
Zach Eflin. Okay. He's fine, right?
He is fine. I don't think he's more than fine.
Yeah.
But he's fine.
All right. And then we talked a little bit about Jack Leiter. 9 whiffs on 80 pitches isn't great. Couldn't command the changeup at all. He threw 6 changeups. 6 of them were balls. That's 100%. I don't think he needs to be rostered in every league. Certainly. There's some upside there, but he has not shown it since he came back from the IL. So if you need to drop Jack Leiter, I think that's totally fine. But
he's the number 2 sleeper pitcher for next week, for what it's worth.
I thought there was some upside with Slade Ciccone. He came back from AAA and was flashing some strikeout upside in his first couple of starts, but has not been there the past 2, 3 strikeouts, 2 walks. 2 earned runs in 5 innings against the Yankees isn't bad, but very bad quality of contact allowed. I think he's just a guy. Let's move on to the call to the bullpen. Camilo Doval gave up 2 hits, but got the save with Randy Rodriguez setting him up. We have mentioned Randy Rodriguez as a potential alternative there if they want to go away from Doval, but he's got to lose the job first. So today did not do that. Carlos Estevez, this was surprising. You don't see this often. Blew the save in game 1 of the doubleheader, came back and got the save in the second game of the doubleheader. Lowered his ERA back to 2. He's up to 18 saves actually now. I said 17 earlier, but he's got 18 now after getting that one. We talked a little bit about it earlier. Robert Garcia gave up 3 runs on 4 hits and a walk to blow the save against the Rays. The walk-off hit was an infield single, I believe, but you give up 4 hits and a walk, you don't really get to complain about a little bit of bad luck. What if the Rangers just don't have any good relievers besides Chris Martin? I kind of think that's where we're at, right?
Yeah, that's why I have some hope for Chris Martin, but it kind of looked like that coming into the year too.
Yeah. And they just haven't given him a chance. It's been frustrating. And then in St. Louis, Ryan Helsley blew his 3rd save in game 1 of the doubleheader on Thursday, gave up a couple of singles and a sac fly. So it's not like he was terrible. And he'd been very good lately after a somewhat shaky start. This was his first blown save in 10 chances. So not too concerned about that. And I'm making an executive decision. We're not going to do to stream or not to stream for the weekend. Wow. I apologize to everybody who hangs on for 70 minutes to get to that segment, but I just don't have it in me. I don't have the strength. Frank is a stronger man and a better host than me. And he would have given you to stream or not to stream. And I apologize for that.
We all look forward to him returning.
We do. We got one more show without him. I think it's gone okay, but it's better when Frank's around. I'll be back here on Sunday in the host chair. Frank will be back the next day, and we will see you then on Fantasy Baseball Today.